All right, it looks like we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great day to prioritize you. For those of you who are new to me, I am Trasetta Annelle Washington, a life balance coach and productivity consultant, as well as the CEO of Profitable Productivity. And today I'm going to be sharing with you on the basics of strategic planning. Listen, we are officially underway for the second half of 2022. First half of the year is already gone, and this is a perfect opportunity or a perfect time for you to revisit your annual goals that you set for either your business or for yourself. But for the purposes of today's conversation, I'm really going to be focusing on those entrepreneurs, those business owners, or executives of small to mid sized businesses as it relates to planning out the rest of your year, the rest of your year, excuse me. A lot of people, maybe this is you. Maybe you are a little off track with what you anticipated accomplishing for this year. There's nothing wrong with that. There's still plenty of time for you to make up the traction that you might have lost in the first two quarters of the year. And that's what we're going to be looking at today, and some strategies for how you can go back to the goals that you set, craft an adjusted strategic plan so that you can get back on course and still meet the goals that you set at the beginning of the year. Give me just a moment here while I am pulling. I'm not going to be broadcasting the presentation, but I do have a presentation up to the side. So I just want to make sure that I can see all of my notes as we go through today's content. But if you are tuning in live, let me know that you're here. Say hello. I always like to know when, who's watching, whether you're watching me live or you come back and watch the replay. Totally fine with that. All right, so let me see here, get my mouse over here on the right side so I can see my notes. All right, so what we're going to be covering today is just the basics of what strategic planning actually is. If you're not familiar with it, we're going to talk about why it's important, the steps to developing a strategic plan, as well as some tools for implementing it so that you can ensure your success. First of all, what is strategic planning anyway? It is essentially the process that an organization or individual goes through when they are trying to define the direction for their business or for their life, and decide on how they're going to allocate the limited resources available so that they can make the most out of what they have available in moving or creating momentum in the direction that they're trying to go as far as those goals are. Whether that is, like I said, in your personal life, we all have limited time. We only get 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. Perhaps we have limited stores of energy. We have to go through the process of resetting, by going to sleep, taking a nap, making sure that we eat. We have limited amount of finances. And I use that when I say limited amount of financial resources, I use that kind of in how do I say this? I don't mean it so much in a literal sense, because I believe that we have that there is no limit to the amount of financial resources we can attract into our life. The only limitation we have is our mindset. However, at any given time in our possession, we may have a limited amount of resources, and then we have to do something to create or draw in or call in additional resources, or financial resources. So that's what I mean when I say that. But at any rate, we want to make sure that what we do have access to, we use it wisely. That's why people do budgets. That's why people create schedules, right? It's so that they can identify what they have available, whether it's time or money or even people. People when you have an organization and you have a team, you have schedules, right? And you're wanting to make sure that you're delegating tasks to people, to the people on your team, so that you are utilizing not only their skills, but their time effectively and efficiently, right? So we all have these pots, and we want to make sure that we are allocating those resources in the best way possible so that we get the most bang for our buck, if you will. Right. So that's what strategic planning is all about. It's really taking a look at what your goals are and then identifying how you're going to allocate your resources to best help you achieve the goals that you've set. Now, why is it important? Well, obviously, I just talked about the how it gives you the opportunity to really be intentional with the resources you have so that you can get more out of them. But it also helps you to outline a clear path forward for your company, your organization, your business, right? It also brings a sense of focus. If you haven't gone through the process of establishing goals and creating a strategic plan, then it's very likely that you're in this place of just kind of drifting and allowing whatever comes up in the moment to guide your actions, your efforts. But when you go through the process of creating a strategic plan, then that gives you an aim. It gives you a place to focus your effort and your energy. So you're much more intentional, much more directed with the resources you have. It also improves your business's self awareness, because if you've got a strategic plan, then you have a measurement, you have a measuring stick. You can take a look and see, all right, this is what we plan to do. This is where we planned to go. However, this is where we are right now. And you can very clearly see whether or not you're on target, whether you're a little behind schedule, or maybe if you're ahead of schedule and you want to make some adjustments in the other direction to prepare for the rest of the year. But it really helps you to be much more aware, of where you are in your business. It also gives, if you our small business with a team, small to mid-sized business with a team, then it gives you and your employees something to work towards, right? If you have a very clear vision, a very clear destination, then it puts a why behind all the actions that we're doing. And I really want to encourage you, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I want to encourage you, when you are crafting your strategic vision, your strategic plan, and you are identifying what that vision is for your business or for your organization, your company, I really encourage you to tie back the various tasks and activities that your business does, as well as the specific tasks that your employees do, back to that overarching vision. Because when you attach a why to the things that we're doing, that it makes more sense. I'm sure you've been there where you were working for someone and there was a particular task that you were doing, and you're just like, I don't even know why we're doing this, because it didn't make any sense to you. But there was likely a reason behind that, and for the way that it was being done, that you just weren't privy to. And so your attitude towards doing that task might have been a little lackadaisical because you didn't understand. So if you can, as the leader of your business, as the leader of your organization or your department, if you can tie in the vision, the why behind what you are doing to your employees, to your team, then that will give them a vested interest in the things that they're doing, because they understand how it impacts the overarching vision and mission of the company or organization, right? So yes, so make sure that you are doing that. All right, so the process of crafting a strategic plan, there's essentially 6 steps. And, I go through, I do a quarterly strategic planning workshop where I walk you through each one of these steps. I kind of break it down into, for the workshop, I have kind of like 3 different phases, but I'm going to break it down into the individual steps that we do inside of those 3 overarching steps. So the very first step is to craft a vision. Well, I'll tell you what the 6 steps are, and then we'll go deeper before I don't want to get off track. So the first step number one is crafting a vision. Step number two is to do a SWOT analysis, really identify what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are those opportunities and threats, going through the process of establishing goals based on that SWOT analysis, and then prioritizing your goals so for the next 90 days and being very hyper focused over the quarter, then developing your plan. Once you've developed your plan, now it's time to execute. So those are the 6 steps. And let's go ahead and break each one of those down. So when it comes to crafting a vision, this is going through the process of really identifying what it is you desire to accomplish in your business or in your life if you're wanting to do this as an individual, right? Or in your organization. Because if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? A lot of times we may say things like, I want to have a greater impact with my business. I want to help more clients, or I want to make more money in my business. Well, what does that look like? You have to be specific about where it is that you're going so that you can really identify where you are in the process of getting there, as well as when you have arrived. If you just say, I want to impact more people with my business, what if you impact the lives of 2 people? That's more impact than where you currently are, but is that what you had in mind? So going through the process of really crafting out a clearly defined vision will help you to have that end goal in mind. Plus, once you know where you're going, that helps us in the process of reverse engineering that vision so that we can identify what the specific steps are to get you from where you are right now to where you see yourself in the future, or where you see your business in the future, right? So that's the step one, the vision. The next step is to go through and do a SWOT analysis. You have to know where you are, right? If you don't know where you're, first we identify what the vision is, where we want to go. But in order for us to really get from where we are to where we want to go, we got to know where we are. It's like planning a road trip to, I currently live in Tallahassee, Florida. Let's say I wanted to plan a road trip to drive back to Las Vegas, where I just recently relocated back to Florida from. Well, there are so many different routes that I could take to get to Las Vegas. But if I don't know where I currently am, if I just say, I want to go to Las Vegas, well, maybe we assume that because I live in Tallahassee that I'm leaving from Tallahassee. But what if I'm not currently here when I start my trip? What if I were in Washington, D.C.? What if I was in Chicago, Illinois, and I needed to make that trip? You have to identify where you are, and going through the process of establishing or conducting a SWOT analysis will help you to identify what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and then take a look at, so that's your internal analysis. Then you want to look externally and figure out, what are the opportunities in my industry? What are the opportunities that are being forecasted as we're moving forward? Now, for me, as it relates to coaching and online education, the online education industry is booming and is expected to continue to grow and blossom. So that is an opportunity for me as a business owner to really invest and put energy, time, and resources into creating more online education. Then you also want to know what the threats are. Economists are talking about us going into a recession or actually already being in a recession. So that could be a threat to your business, to your organization. And you need to know what those things are so that you can prepare yourself or come up with some sort of plan or strategy to overcome any potential threats that there might be. You don't want to get blindsided in your business. All right, step number 3 is to go through the process of establishing goals, right? So you want to set some SMART goals. And I've talked about this before. Matter of fact, I think I talked about this last week. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So you want to make sure that you're very clear that your goals follow that SMART acronym so that you can measure them, right? You want them to be realistic as well, or attainable, achievable. You don't want to set some goal that is so far out of reach. Like, I'm all for dreaming big. I am all for going big or going home, right? I'm all for that. But you want to make sure that it's a stretch and not a strain. When you're setting your goals, you want to make sure that they are a stretch, not a strain. And if you're setting a goal that is too far out of reach, then you will end up straining yourself. And we all know if you strain, that can cause injury, right? So we want it to be a gentle stretch. And then also as it relates to setting your goals, you want to make sure that those goals align back to the vision and mission of your business or organization. So what is that grand vision that you crafted at the offset, and make sure that the goals are actually aligned or come out of that vision. And when I say goals, I'm talking about quarterly goals, because yes, you want to have those annual goals, those 5-year, 10-year, 20-year goals. You want to have those long-term goals. That's great. But I really like to have my clients to focus on quarterly or 90-day goals, because those are shorter term goals where you can get a quick win and you can actually create some massive momentum in a short period of time. When we stretch our goals out too far, the reward is so far off that it's a lot easier for us to kind of fall off of continuing the process of pursuing that goal. So you want to have those shorter term goals where you can get those quick wins and get that kind of, pat on the back, that encouragement that can help you to keep pushing forward. Every goal that you set is worth continuing to push, but you have to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, setting yourself up for it to actually come to pass. Then the next step is to prioritize your goals based on the impact to your business and your market position, right? So this is going through, taking a look at the goals that you set and determining which of the goals that you establish are most important. Or I usually recommend no more than 3 goals. So making sure that you kind of organize those goals as it relates to the ones that's going to have the greatest impact on your business, and prioritize them, priority number 1, priority number 2, priority number 3. This is important because sometimes we'll get to a place where our goals can end up competing with one another, or where they end up competing with one another. And so we've already established that you may have, at times, you're going to have some limited resources, and you need to know which one, when you're making decisions, which goal is most important, so that you can allocate the resources to the thing that is most important. Let's say goal number 2 is going to require an exorbitant amount of staff time in order to pull it off, but you've already established that goal number 1 is the one that's going to have the greatest impact on your business. And you might want to, instead of investing so much of your team's time in goal number 2, divert that time, energy, and focus to goal number 1. And then when you get it to a place where you get that goal to a place where it is inevitable, then you can start to shift your resources to the next thing. So going through this process of prioritizing them will really help you to make decisions about how to allocate resources, especially when there are competing goals, right? All right, next step is to actually go through the process of developing your plan. All right, we know where we're going. We have our goals. We know what our opportunities and our threats are, and we prioritize everything. Now is when we go through the process of crafting out the plan and reverse engineering that vision that we initially set, so that we can actually achieve it. So this is where you're going to break down your goals, not only your vision, but your goals, into specific action steps. Now, when I talk about developing a plan and crafting your action steps, there's 2 different types of actions that you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at single actions. So these are things that are one and done. For example, maybe you're doing a rebrand and you need a website. You need a new website, or you need to purchase a new domain name, or you need a new logo, whatever the case. That is a one-off. Once you create the new logo, you're not going to turn around and create another new logo in a few weeks. At least I would hope not, right? So you're going to have your one-off action steps. Once it's done, it's done. But then you're also going to have what I call your activity goals or process goals. These are things, you're overarching the SMART goals that we set. Those are outcome-based goals. Now we're going to go through the process of setting activity or process-based goals, which break down the steps to get you from where you are today to the end result of the goal. Here's a really good example. When it comes to revenue, let's say you had a revenue goal of, I don't know, 50K in revenue for each month of the quarter. So 150,000 for the quarter. And once you know what the revenue goal is, now it's about what are the consistent actions that you need to take in order to achieve that revenue goal. So does that mean that you need to make, you're making sales calls? Does that mean that you are creating a new project? Does that mean you're creating a new marketing campaign? Maybe you're promoting via email or on social media. Whatever the case may be, you have to figure out what are the activities that are going to drive the results that I seek. So it's doing a daily action or weekly, depending upon the specific goal. In this case, if we're wanting to make money, if it's about revenue, that's something we want to do every day. Then you want to really sit down and figure out, okay, how many widgets do I need to sell in order to make the $50,000 of revenue per month that I need to make in my business, or that I said I wanted to make in my business? How many of those widgets do I need to sell? Okay, widget costs X amount of money. And so you would just divide that X amount, let's say the widget is $5,000. And in order for you to make 50,000, then you need to sell 10. I think that's right. Is that my math right? Let me do a little math check, because I don't want to, math off the top of my head is not my strong suit. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, yes, I was right, 10. All right, so you need to sell 10 of the widget, $5,000 widget, in order for you to hit your sales goal. So what does that look like? Maybe that means that you have to make a certain number of sales calls, whether that is by phone or if that's something that you do in person. Because there are people or certain businesses that have to go on site with clients in order to pitch their products and services. Right. So how many sales calls do you need to make in order to get those 10 clients? Well, you need to know what your close rate is and identify, okay, well, I normally close 20% of my calls. So that means that I need to talk to 50 people? Here again, don't quote me on the math. I'm not going to pull my phone back out to do the math, but identifying what that looks like. Okay, so if you need to make 10 sales calls, then how many leads do you need to generate? So one of the activities is to make the sales calls. Another activity would be to do whatever your lead gen action is in order to get the leads that you need, right? You should see where I'm going with this, right? So it's really breaking down that goal into simple, actionable steps that can be done consistently, so that the law of averages works in your favor. And you know that if I do these actions on a consistent basis, they are going to yield the results that I desire, right? And then also in developing that plan, that's going to help you to identify what the resources are that you need in order for you to achieve your goals, as well as identifying who's going to be responsible for specific tasks, and holding them accountable, right? Holding them accountable, because the reason why we're going to have these metrics is so that we can track the activity as well as the outcomes, right? Most of the time we just track outcomes, but we need to track the activity and the outcomes and hold the responsible parties accountable to doing said actions. All right. And the final step in the process is to execute, right? You have the plan, you know what you need to do. Now it's time for you to actually take the plan, put it into action. It's time to execute on it. And like I already said, by having by having the metrics and tracking them, that's going to make it easy for you to, or I should say easier for you to execute on the plan, because you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You can monitor whether or not the actions are actually being done, and you can identify if the actions are being done and think you're not getting the results that you want, then that can help you to make some adjustments that you need so that the execution of the plan continues to yield the results that you desire. Now, before I close out, I want to share just a few tools that you can use in the development of your strategic plan or in the management of your strategic plan. One is project management software. Whether you are a solopreneur, it's just you are the only one in your business, or you have a team or an entire staff, it doesn't matter. Having some sort of project management software to keep on track of everything is going to be essential. So you might want to use something like Trello for, the solopreneur. You can pull out Trello. Trello is they have a free version and a very inexpensive paid version as well that can really help you to keep track of not only the daily, the consistent actions, but those one-off steps that you need to take as well. Or you could go into something like Asana or Monday or Boot Camp. There's all different types of project management software. Take a look and see what's out there based on the needs that you have and make a decision on which one you will use. Just pick one, right? Just pick one and use it. There's no such thing as the best, right? It's the best for you, right? You want to have some sort of communication platform, some sort of way for you to communicate. If it's just you want to be able to communicate with your vendors or the people or contractors that you might work with. Or if you are a small team, then you want to be able to communicate with your team in a real-time fashion. And I don't like my business stuff to be on my phone. I like it to be separate from, I don't want to send text messages to my clients, right? I don't want to do that. I want to have some sort of external communication platform so I have more control over when I receive notifications and when I am actively working on a project. So using a communication platform like Slack or Teams, there's also, I guess you could use the Messenger app or Telegram. There's WhatsApp. There's a ton of different communication tools. Again, there's no best one. It's just the best for you, whichever one is the easiest for you. And then the last tool that I want to encourage you to do is to use progress reviews. So go through the process of reviewing each of your steps, your actions. Well, let me say it this way. I don't want to say it that way. Sit down, schedule in advance time for you to review on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis the steps that you're taking, the actions that you're taking, and the progress that you are making along the way, right? Because if you're not reviewing, if you're just doing the actions and you're not reviewing what the outcomes of those actions are, then it's going to be difficult. You could end up at the end of the quarter and find yourself, hey, we didn't quite make it to what our goal was, but we did all the steps. if you're reviewing that on a weekly or at minimum monthly basis, then that will give you enough data to know if you need to make any adjustments to your process to ensure success, right? So make sure that you are doing progress reviews. And lastly, before I close out, planning is, I want to share this quote: planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. And I want to share with you an opportunity to do something about it now. And that is, I am hosting 2 quarterly strategic planning workshops, one on Tuesday, July the 13th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then an additional one on Saturday, July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's a 3-hour workshop where I will walk you through this strategic planning process, and you will walk away with your strategic plan for the next 90 days, knowing exactly what it is that you need to accomplish in order for you to hit your goals. You'll be very clear, you'll be confident, and you will be able to, it's going to help you to achieve your most important goals. So no need for you to feel stressed out or overwhelmed. You can take control of your future today. So I want to, I'm going to I'll come back and add the link, but if you want to go to bit.ly/Q3 plan, and that's in all caps, Q3 plan, bit.ly, so bit.ly/Q3 plan in all caps. It is case sensitive. Then you can learn more about the strategic planning workshop and sign up for that. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you right back here on Thursday, where I will be going a little deeper into goal setting, and I'll be sharing with you some tips for making sure that you set goals that are achievable and also give you that little stretch that you need. So I'll see you on Thursday. Have a great